Imagine the end of the world. The grid goes down, society completely collapses.
Yeah, total chaos.
Exactly. And you have a reinforced bunker, 10 years of freeze-dried food, and military-grade water
The
filters.
ultimate prepper setup.
Yeah, you've basically treated survival like a massive accounting problem, and you've checked every single box.
Hmm.
But according to author Rena Lynn, you're already dead.
It really completely upends the modern prepper fantasy, doesn't it?
It really does.
I mean, we love the comfort of a material checklist because buying canned goods is, well, it's easy. Facing the psychological and spiritual abyss of a total collapse is terrifying.
And that is exactly where we are going today. If you are the kind of person who enjoys learning about survivalism or complex character studies or just how modern fiction is redefining traditional genres, you are in for a treat today.
Absolutely.
We are exploring Rena Lynn's Prepare for the End series. Specifically, we're focusing on the incredibly gritty, not for sissies tone of these books.
Yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. We're going to examine the tactical profiles of a faction known as God's Men. So characters like Jake, Matt, Levi, Bobby, and Tucker. And we'll unpack the intense warrior pipeline training that prepares them for both physical and spiritual combat.
And to do this, we are pulling excerpts from several books in the overarching series. So we're looking at A Safe Haven, God's Men, and Is There Any Safe Place?
Right.
Plus, we're looking at all of this through the lens of a comprehensive academic analysis of the series.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can truly understand the men fighting these battles, we really need to understand the brutal reality of the battlefield itself.
Yeah, the setting is crucial here.
Right. And the academic analysis we have refers to the overarching theme of the series as kinetic Christian realism.
That's a mouthful.
It is. I need a definition here, because those three words don't usually sit next to each other. What does that actually mean in the context of this fictional universe?
Well, think about the word kinetic. It implies motion, friction, and, often violent force. Lynn is taking traditional, often very gentle or cozy Christian fiction and just throwing it out the window.
Just completely tossing it.
Exactly. In traditional genre fiction of that type, conflicts are pretty sanitized. The moral high ground is always obvious.
Resolutions are neat and tidy.
Right, exactly. But the world of Prepare for the End is facing Teotwaki, the end of the world as we know it.
Total collapse.
Yeah, the characters aren't just having theological debates over coffee. They are dealing with brutal murders, transnational human trafficking rings, and a literal, active, satanic coven.
A literal coven.
Yes, one that has actively targeted specific bloodlines for generations.
Wait, so this isn't just about praying away the darkness. It's like taking a Sunday school theology lesson and dropping it straight into a Navy SEAL tactical survival manual.
That's a great way to put it.
You need the Bible, but you also need the body armor.
What's fascinating here is why the author chose this incredibly intense tone. It operates as a pedagogical tool.
A teaching mechanism.
Exactly, a teaching mechanism that forces the reader completely out of their comfort zone. The series basically posits that material prep, having the high fences and the food, is utterly futile without spiritual alignment.
Which makes sense for the genre, but...
But, and this is the kicker, spiritual alignment still requires physical, tactical readiness.
Right.
Lynn is forcing the reader to confront brutal situational ethics. She's constantly putting her characters in these agonizing trolley problem scenarios.
Of like making them choose the lesser of two evils.
Right, asking questions like, is there ever a right time to do the wrong thing? Or, how far can a fundamentally good man be pushed when a cartel threatens his family?
Which means it's not about passively waiting for the apocalypse, it's active, aggressive resistance.
Very aggressive.
If the world is this hostile, you need a very specific type of person to survive it. Which brings us to the men actually executing this dual warfare on the ground.
The Vanguard.
Yes, the sources refer to this faction as the Vanguard. Who are they and how do they function in this world?
So the Vanguard represents the tip of the spear for a much larger, tight-knit alliance of families. They are the protectors. Let's look at the mechanics of who they actually are in their day-to-day lives, starting with Jake.
Jake Johnson.
Right. To the outside world, Jake is just a furniture maker and a plumber. He's 41, tall, lean, totally unassuming.
Just a normal blue-collar guy.
Exactly. But secretly, he operates as a private investigator, working very closely with law enforcement. And more importantly, we really have to look at his psychology. Jake is deeply traumatized.
Yeah, the sources highlight that Jake has been carrying a horrific secret for 13 years.
A really long time.
And he carries this immense pain entirely alone. It's a fascinating look at the isolation of trauma. He completely refuses to tell his brothers and friends what he endured because he's terrified they would reject him.
It shows how secrets become their own kind of prison.
Absolutely. And on top of that internal psychological warfare, he is the primary physical target of the local coven.
The pressure he is under is just immense.
Yeah.
Then you look at someone like Matt Hench. Matt is 41, a broad-shouldered cowboy working at the Rockano Ranch.
And that ranch is important, right?
Yeah, it functions as a designated safe haven, so
Right.
a fortified, self-sustaining community in this world.
Right, okay.
Matt is kind of the inverse of Jake in some ways. He has a lightning-quick temper, he perceives a threat, and he neutralizes it immediately.
No hesitation.
None. He actually leads worship for the ranch hands. But his defining psychological trait is how fiercely, almost ruthlessly, he protects his found family.
And then there's Matt's older brother, Levi Hench. He's 42, works with his dad in Hench Family Plumbing.
Levi is an interesting case.
He really is. His personal life is just a pressure cooker. He's trapped in a miserable marriage to a woman named Darla who actively torments him.
Right.
It's this quiet domestic misery that contrasts wildly with the external apocalypse happening around them. But what really drives Levi, what keeps him moving, is a 20-year-old vow of revenge.
A very dark motivation.
Yeah, his fiancée, Charlotte, who was actually Jake's cousin, was abducted by the coven a week before their wedding, and he has vowed to hunt down whoever took her.
What becomes vital for you, the listener, to understand about Jake, Matt, and Levi is the emotional toll of their reality. Lynn does not write bulletproof, emotionless action heroes who just walk away from explosions in slow motion.
No, not at all.
These men suffer profoundly from the violence they inflict.
They really are stripped down to their nerves. The gritty reality of this kinetic Christian realism is on full display with their mental states. The text describes them suffering from severe PTSD.
Right.
They weep openly with each other, they chain smoke under extreme stress, and they physically shake after firefights as the adrenaline dumps from their systems. They hate the violence.
It's a huge burden for them.
It is. But looking at their covers, I mean, I have to push back a little here. We've got plumbers, carpenters, and cowboys going toe-to-toe with elite cartels and shape-shifting assassins.
I know where you're going with this.
How do ordinary blue-collar guys get these kinds of black ops skills? Doesn't that stretch the realism the author is trying to build?
It totally would, if they were just ordinary guys who suddenly decided to pick up weapons one day. But that brings us to the underlying mechanics of this world. The answer lies in what we can call the warrior pipeline.
Okay, the warrior pipeline.
Yeah, this isn't a weekend self-defense seminar or a couple of guys at a shooting range. This is a multi-generational, highly systematic program designed from the ground up to turn blue-collar workers into elite tactical fighters without drawing attention to themselves.
So the plumber van is actually the perfect camouflage.
Exactly. Nobody looks twice at a plumber parking in an alley or a carpenter carrying heavy equipment into a building.
They are the ultimate gray men. But who is building this pipeline? I mean, how do you create an assassin in a plumbing company?
Well, you need an architect. And for these specific men, that architect is a character named Bobby Drake.
Bobby Drake.
Bobby is 58. Gray, buzzcut, ex-military, an absolute expert in demolitions. Publicly, he just sells guns online.
Seems normal enough for this genre.
Right. But, much like Jake, he operates with a massive secret. Bobby works for a highly classified, unnamed global law enforcement organization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He realized early on that standard law enforcement couldn't protect his family from these specific supernatural and cartel threats. So he became the surrogate father and the primary tactical trainer for all the younger men in their alliance.
He essentially militarized their childhoods.
He had to. He taught them extreme situational awareness, hand-to-hand combat, and weapons proficiency from the time they were young boys.
Wow.
The pipeline works because it's baked right into their formative years. It's muscle memory by the time they're adults.
Bobby built the foundation.
Yeah.
But if we want to see the absolute peak of this training pipeline, you know, the ultimate result of this multi-generational conditioning, we have to look at Bobby's son, Tucker Drake.
Tucker is fascinating.
He is. Bobby knew the coven was targeting his specific bloodline. So the day Tucker was born, Bobby instituted a spare father's protocol.
That is such an intense concept.
Right. He appointed Jake, Matt, and Levi as a network of surrogate dads. So Tucker, who is 27 now, was raised by a collective hive mind of highly trained, hyper-vigilant men.
The psychological reasoning behind that is just brilliant. Bobby is building redundancy into his own son's life.
Like a failsafe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If Bobby gets taken out by the cartel or the coven, Tucker's tactical and moral compass doesn't just disappear. He has a completely decentralized support system.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Tucker isn't just a tough guy on a ranch. He represents the ultimate weapon produced by this alliance.
He really does.
He is an elite Special Forces sniper, a licensed pilot capable of flying almost anything, and a highly trained field surgeon.
Which is a crazy combination.
It is. But that medical career is actually a structural masterclass in espionage. It's partially a cover.
It's the perfect infiltration tool. Tucker works for the same secretive global organization his father does, a unit specializing in dismantling cartels, pedophile rings, and human trafficking operations. Think about how difficult it is for a tactical team to breach a cartel warlord's compound. It's heavily guarded, heavily fortified. But cartels need doctors.
Oh, I see.
The organization uses Tucker's medical expertise as a literal Trojan horse.
So he gets deployed to a hostile location under the guise of performing humanitarian or necessary medical operations.
Right.
He establishes his cover, performs the surgeries, and then, in the dead of night, slips out. He performs black ops assassinations of cartel warlords, sabotages their operations, and then slips right back into the medical tent before morning.
Exactly.
Nobody ever suspects the surgeon saving lives is actually the sniper taking them.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, Tucker's internal struggle perfectly mirrors the philosophical tension of the entire series. We talked earlier about the trolley problem of survivalism.
Yeah.
Tucker lives that every single day. He wrestles deeply with the blood on his hands. The text shows him dealing with paralyzing PTSD from his military tours and his black ops work.
I mean, how could he not?
Exactly. He actually confesses to Matt that he struggles to reconcile his deep faith with his brutal, lethal skill set. He knows these warlords are monsters who need to be stopped, but he hates the violence he has to enact to do it.
It's a profound theological paradox. He is essentially destroying his own soul to protect the souls of others.
That's beautifully put.
And that psychological realism is what elevates the narrative away from typical action movie tropes. Tucker isn't making witty one-liners over a body. He is profoundly burdened.
Right.
The series continually asks these characters to act as a sponge, basically absorbing the trauma and violence of the world so that the innocent families behind the walls of the safe haven don't have to.
Which brings us to the operational reality of this world. I mean, we've mapped out the pipeline, we know the mentors, and we understand the psychological profiles.
Sure.
But how does this training actually manifest when the theoretical apocalypse becomes an active shootout? Because the threat doesn't stay in the shadows. The coven and the cartels eventually force a confrontation.
It evolves from private defensive survival, hoarding supplies and hiding, into an official offensive capacity. The Alliance's private training gets recognized on a state level when they form a literal God's Men task force.
Right, they team up.
They begin working directly with a Texas Ranger named Conrad Hayes.
And Conrad serves as the bridge between the civilian pipeline and state authority.
Yeah.
He recognizes that standard law enforcement is completely hamstrung by bureaucracy, jurisdictional red tape, and sometimes direct infiltration by the coven.
The system is broken.
Exactly. He sees the absolute tactical proficiency of Jake, Matt, Levi, and Tucker, and he effectively deputizes them. He needs an off-the-books kinetic force to rescue trafficked women and children and to take the fight directly to the enemy.
But giving them a badge doesn't sanitize the violence. When we see the grit of the pipeline in action, it is uncompromising.
It's brutal.
The training they pass down to the next generation is intense. There's a specific scene where Tucker is giving military-style instruction to a character named Missy. He isn't just taking her to a well-lit range and teaching her breath control.
No, it's way past that.
He is training her to break down, clean, and reassemble a firearm entirely blindfolded.
The rationale behind that is crucial for understanding the survival philosophy of this series. Why blindfolded? Because in a true Titawaki scenario, your advantages are stripped away.
Right.
You won't have the luxury of light or calm or ideal conditions. Tucker is teaching her that survival means operating efficiently in absolute, disorienting darkness. It's a physical training exercise, but it's also a deeply psychological one.
And that ruthlessness extends to how they engage the enemy.
Yeah.
There is a brutal sequence during a violent home invasion. The Vanguard manages to capture one of the attackers.
This scene is intense.
It really is. Now, standard law enforcement would read him his rights and take him to a holding cell. But they know an impending hit is coming, and they need information immediately.
So they don't play by the rules.
Tucker doesn't offer a plea deal. He takes a knife, twists it into the intruder's non-vital area, and openly threatens to start systematically slicing off body parts if the man doesn't talk.
It is a dark, jarring moment.
It is. It really challenges the reader. You find yourself asking, are these actually the good guys? But it perfectly encapsulates the series' promise.
The premise that nice guys finish dead.
Exactly. The good guys in this world aren't afraid to get their hands covered in mud and blood to protect their families. The moral high ground is useless if your family is dead.
To fully grasp Lynn's world building, we really have to look at how that kinetic combat is strictly paired with spiritual warfare.
Right, the dual warfare.
In the exact moment Tucker is interrogating an intruder or taking fire at a cartel compound, the characters are actively engaging the spiritual realm. The text specifically details them calling out to their assigned guardian angels.
Like literal angels.
Yes. They invoke angels with specific names and functions, like Barakiel, representing the lightning of God, or Tabael. They are praying for heavenly reinforcements, demanding spiritual intervention, while simultaneously returning suppressive fire.
It's that dual reality manifesting at the exact same time. A bullet for the physical threat, a prayer for the spiritual one. They don't see a difference between the two battlefields.
Yeah, they don't.
And just to pause here for a second, we want to make it absolutely clear to you, the listener, that our goal today is simply to convey the lore, the plot mechanics, and the overarching themes of the original texts.
Right.
We are exploring how the author constructs this unique narrative landscape, remaining completely impartial about the worldviews presented in the fiction itself.
It's an analysis of the structural architecture of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And Lynn's architecture relies heavily on that total synthesis. When the Godsmen task force breaches a compound, they are treating the physical cartel members and the demonic entities they believe are driving them as two sides of the exact same coin.
They are completely linked.
In the logic of this universe, you simply cannot defeat one without actively addressing the other. The body armor stops the bullet. The spiritual lineman stops the corruption.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out from the sniper rifles, the safe havens, and the coven, what is the core takeaway for you? What is this series actually trying to tell us about survival?
Well, the Prepare for the End series uses the gritty, uncompromising profiles of the Vanguard to make a very specific argument against modern prep culture.
Okay.
It argues that true survival in a collapsing world is not a checklist of supplies. It requires a synthesis of rigorous, tactical pipeline training and deep, unflinching emotional and spiritual resilience.
It's about the people, not the stuff.
Exactly. It's a vivid exploration of what happens when ordinary men are pushed to the absolute brink and how they must lean on a decentralized community to avoid shattering completely under the weight of the violence they have to commit.
It completely redefines what it means to be prepared. Which brings me back to where we started today.
Go Unker.
Right. Based on the concept of Teotwaki, the end of the world as we know it, we usually think about survival in terms of hoarding. We look at our pantry, we check our water filters, and we think we are safe.
You feel secure.
But if a total societal collapse happened tomorrow, would your survival truly depend more on the physical supplies you've locked away in a basement? Or would it depend entirely on the psychological resilience, the shared moral compass, and the specific tactical skills of the community you've built around you?
It's a question that challenges the very foundation of how we view our own security.
It forces you to look at the people next to you, rather than the things you own. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you a new perspective on how modern fiction is tackling the hardest questions of survival, morality, and what it truly takes to protect the ones you love. Keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time.